Keith Tebow, FRCmedia, thank you for joining us today. We continue to have discussions with members of our community to see how our constituency, if you will, is handling the COVID pandemic now that we're over 10 months into this. And we've spent a lot of time talking about schools. We've spoken about how the Fall River Public Schools have been dealing with the pandemic. Last week, we spoke with representatives from Diamond Regional Vocational High School. Today, we're going to talk to representatives from our local parochial Catholic schools from the Diocese of Fall River. I'll be speaking in a few moments with the principal of Bishop Connolly High School, Kathleen St. Laurent. But right now, I want to bring in the superintendent of the schools in the Diocese of Fall River, Superintendent Daniel Roy. Mr. Roy, how are you?
Hi, Keith. I'm fine. Good to be with you.
Thank you. We spoke back in August prior to the new school year, so we thought it'd be a good chance to get caught up as we're, pretty much at the halfway point of the school year. So,
Sure.
in terms of the Catholic schools in the diocese, most of the schools are acting as normal can be in terms of being in person with social distancing and, of course, any of the other protocols set by the state to be safe. How has that been working in general for students?
In general, Keith, it's been working really well. The ability to provide, a continuity of learning, a continuity of in-person learning in our school buildings since the outset of the school year has been a tremendous advantage to our students, and very welcomed by their families, who've worked well and in close partnership with schools to make all of this happen. And obviously we're navigating all of this through a pandemic. And, here at the Catholic Schools office, at the central office, we have really relied upon good lines of communication with all of our schools across the diocese. We established a good protocol for dealing with cases at the beginning of the school year. And that's working well, and we continue to be in person as a result.
One of the things that's interesting, and we talked about this back in the summer, was the fact that if you're a public school, you're dealing with students in one community, where with the Catholic schools, I believe there are 20 or so throughout the entire diocese, which stretches pretty much from the Rhode Island state line all the way down to the Cape.
Yeah.
How has that communication with the communities been in terms of dealing with any local outbreaks of COVID that may be happening in those individual communities?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. And, our schools are located in 11 different cities and towns here in Southeast Massachusetts, from Hyannis on the Cape to Mansfield and Attleboro to the north. And, of course, our students come from more than 11 cities and towns in Southeast Massachusetts. And so, what we have really made a priority of throughout the year is establishing a good rapport with local boards of health. And so if there are outbreaks in particular cities and towns, or any developments that would affect our students and school communities, we're on the phone with them. Oftentimes, our office is joined in a phone call or a Zoom session with a local board of health to get guidance. And what we've found and really been appreciative of is the particular way that some boards of health have made a real priority of communicating on a regular basis with all of the schools. And I would give one example of that in the city of New Bedford. There is a weekly call with Catholic, charter, and public schools, and a sharing of data and a discussion of how things are going. And so I think that, it's those local relationships in particular communities is just really in the best interest of all children and families in Southeast Massachusetts.
Let me ask you, how have the number of cases, impacted, if anything at all, in terms of the Catholic school since this started? We all know, of course, that, we did have a big surge in the fall. And of course, we're sort of getting over another surge from the holidays. Have the cases across the Catholic schools in the diocese been minimized? And I guess talk a little bit about, if there is a case, how is that followed through in terms of contact tracing?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, two parts of that question, and I don't want to lose either of them. So the first one is just what we saw with the holidays, and as predicted, across the state, across the country, there was an uptick in cases as a result of Christmas and then New Year's. And so as a result, when schools reopened on January 4th, we did see an increase in cases. And, we saw an increase last week too, which really kind of addressed the uptick from New Year's. And this week, things are quieter here and in schools. The way that we have dealt with particular instances and cases is something that we've really tried to be consistent with since the beginning of the school year. And we had the good fortune of, in October, hiring a nurse manager who works here at the Catholic Schools office, who works very closely with our school nurses in all of the elementary and high schools in the Diocese of Fall River to provide guidance around contact tracing. So we really want to make sure, and we say it again and again, that our school leaders, our school communities are receiving guidance and support from this office as they navigate this. So in the instance of a case in a school, there is a protocol that's triggered, and the principal is in touch with us. We have support around communications, we have support around contact tracing, and we also have support around particular operational decisions that need to be made when there is a case in a school.
But you haven't seen any instances in terms of the Catholic schools where there's been a number of cases that would potentially trigger a potential shutdown or some remote learning, or has that taken place in terms of full classrooms or numbers of classrooms in one school location?
Yes, we have seen some instances of that, Keith. And again, the two priorities that we're always trying to keep at the forefront are safety above all, and then the value that we place on in-person learning. So, when an instance comes to our attention where it seems like a programmatic change needs to be made, we want to involve, we want to be in conversation with the pastor and the principal at the school. We want to involve the local board of health in making a decision that would impact the learning format for a classroom or some classrooms. And we have seen, as the winter has gone on, we have seen some instances of that.
Good news is that, as you said, the numbers are beginning to come down after that surge from the holidays. And as more and more people get the vaccine, hopefully the instances will come down so that we'll be able to get through the rest of this school year in a way that's positive for all involved. I want to ask you, as we wrap up here with you, the attitude of the students. Even though most of them are in person, be it in a hybrid model, either at some of the high schools or fully in person in some of the elementary schools, how have they adapted to the protocols, and what benefit has it been to them to still be in-person learning, as has been the tradition?
It may come as no surprise to many people, but our students have been nothing less than stellar. They have risen to the occasion. They have, embraced and internalized the protocols necessary for student health and safety. Our teachers have been total champions. Our school leaders have led heroically through all of this. And I think that there just continues to be a general sense that folks are happy to be together. It's not to say that there aren't challenges, there aren't hard days. That comes in any school year, right? But I would say that there's just a general sense that folks are happy to be in community and in a faith-filled community like the ones that we offer in our schools here. And we're also at the midpoint of the year, Keith, and We're in the midst of our second round of NWEA MAP testing, which is a national test that measures growth in areas of reading and language and math. And so it's good to see that, that kind of ordinary thing that would happen midpoint in the year is happening again. And, we're looking to work with our school leaders and some of our teacher leaders in the weeks ahead to really dive into that data and understand the growth from the fall to the winter in order to plan for the spring. And so that's another positive sign that I would report. But again, I think that the value of our Catholic faith-filled communities has been recognized by all of our stakeholders through this pandemic.
Yeah, undoubtedly, we've all learned so much over the past 10 months that makes us stronger in many ways, but I know we're all looking forward to having things somewhat back to normal, and hopefully that'll be the case in the fall. And I don't want to ask you about your fall plans yet because that may change. So we'll have to get together later on in the spring or maybe even early summer as we get closer to the fall 2021
Hey, let's hope we have Major League Baseball in the spring.
That's all we care about as sports fans, right?
No Sox.
That's right. Superintendent Daniel Roy from the schools of Diocese of Fall River. Thank you for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. I appreciate it.
Good to see you, Keith. Take care.
I am pleased now to be joined by the principal of Bishop Connolly High School here in Fall River, Kathleen St. Laurent. Kathy, how are you? Nice to see you again.
Hi, Keith. So nice to see you as well. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Thanks for joining us. So I want to talk a little bit about Bishop Connolly and things that have been happening. We actually spoke back in August prior to the new school year opening. And we know that the Fall River Public Schools obviously have had to deal with some COVID issues. You made the decision back in the summer to sort of have a hybrid form of learning where actually students are in the classroom. Talk about, again, remind us what that hybrid model entails and how it's been working thus far at Bishop Connolly.
Yeah, of course. Well, we're really pleased. We're at the midpoint of our year, and our hybrid model has really worked extremely well. Of course, first and foremost, the health and safety of our students. That's always paramount. With our hybrid model, we have our grades 9 and 10 students in person Monday through Friday, and we have our 11 and 12 students remotely on that week, and then we switch. So students are in person for a full 5 days every other week. It gives us, the continuity of education. It also gives the students an opportunity to build community within their grade level, and we can keep them socially distanced, have small class sizes. It's worked extremely well for us at Bishop Connolly.
Now, in terms of when the students are in school every other week, are they more engaged because they sort of had that computer experience for a week and then they're back in able to see their friends? And has that been a positive experience?
Well, Keith, they're so happy to be here. And honestly, it's such a delight to see them come in person. Yes, they are very happy to be in person. And the weeks that they are here, we really try to maximize that with as much as we can for student engagement. You can see it in their faces and the way they greet one another, their faculty administrators. They're really happy to be in school in person. And I think it's made us all truly appreciate, I think what we took for granted for so long, that we all could be here together. And they've done a wonderful job adhering to all of our social distancing regulations, mask wearing, cleaning protocols. It's a lot for all of them. And they do it because they want to be in school.
And that brings me to, we talked about this again back in August, extracurricular activities. Even though half the students are there, there's still opportunities to do sports, obviously, and other extracurricular activities. How has that worked out for students?
It's worked out great. We had our sports on hold in the beginning of the year following our Mayflower League regulations, MIAA, all of that, looking at everything. We've just begun that with our winter season, and it's going wonderful with swim and basketball, boys and girls basketball. We've been able to have that. And we're planning for a fall and a spring season as well. And we've just done our signups for those. So it's been great to have athletics back. We have always done our extracurricular creatively with student council Zoom meetings and in person, campus ministry, yearbook, things like that. So whatever we're able to do safely, we are doing, and excited that we are able to do athletics, as well.
And as we move forward, things will begin to loosen up, and that will move us toward the end of the year. But before we talk about the end of the year, I want to touch upon something else. Obviously Bishop Connolly, even though it's located in Fall River, you see students from around our region. And we talked about the cooperation and communication you have with all the towns which Bishop Connolly serves. How has that worked out in terms of minimizing the number of COVID cases?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're asking that question. It's worked out great. And we're so fortunate to have a wonderful relationship with the local boards of health. And you're absolutely right. We have students from Tiverton, from Westport, from Taunton, from Bridgewater, from Plymouth, as well as Fall River, Somerset, Swansea. I have a great relationship with the local boards of health, as does our nurse manager for the Diocese of Fall River. Working together, we're able to be sure that we're implementing all of the protocols and that we're updated on things. I can't say enough, though, about the good communication with the health departments.
And this should have been one of the earlier questions. The number of COVID cases have been limited as well at the school?
Yeah, we've been extremely fortunate. Our cases have been quite low at Bishop Connolly. Again, having half of our students in for a week and half at home has really assisted with that. But I also have to say our parents have been fantastic in terms of monitoring their children, keeping us always informed and always erring on the side of caution and keeping their student home. So it's definitely been a collaboration, but we've been doing extremely well in terms of having a low amount of cases. Yes.
Now, in terms of contact tracing, is that handled right there at the school? Is it through the diocese? How does that work?
It's handled at the school, working collaboratively with the local board of health. If we were informed of a positive case, then we would do the contact tracing within our school and communicate that information to our families and to the local board of health. When a student has not been present in school, then the local board of health works with the family directly. So I think that's worked out, as I say, very, very well because of the good communication.
And finally, as you said, we're at the halfway point of the school year, and now we start looking at towards spring and some of the celebratory events that are happening not only at Bishop Connolly but other high schools across the Commonwealth. What are the plans for graduation this year and other end of the year events?
We're really excited about, not to wish the year away, but we're excited about our planning for the spring and for all those big items that students have waited a long time for, including graduation. Last year, we did have a live graduation at Bishop Connolly outdoors, and it was really successful. We will plan to do that again. So we have our graduation set at Bishop Connolly for May 26th, and it will be an outdoor event. And we're also planning many of the other end of year activities that we can do safely, as many as we can do outdoors, getting a lot of input from our students as well. It's really important to provide as many of those things to provide a sense of normalcy and celebration. There's a lot to celebrate as you come to the end of a school year, and we want to be able to do that with all of our students. So it's an exciting thing to think about.
And it is amazing how we've all been able to adapt over the past 10 plus months to doing things differently. But I'm sure we also hope that things will be back to normal probably this fall, and that would be good to see. So Kathleen St. Laurent, principal at Bishop Connolly High School, thank you for your time as always. We'll catch up again soon. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Keith. It was a pleasure.
All right. And thank you for joining us today here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great day.